Whether he's framing houses or harvesting crops, Masaru is stuck in the same grueling grind as back in Japan. The only twist, he's in a different world now. In a remote village, Masaru wipes sweat from his brow. He barely finishes restocking before being slapped with a massive list of new chores to tackle immediately. He wonders if these tasks are actually his job, but honestly, this is just his everyday reality now. Such is the life of a rural home center clerk, usually tasked with selling basic household essentials. At least that's the theory. Country life demands everything from logistics and deliveries to handling every bizarre request imaginable. We're talking heavy machinery repairs, landscaping, full-scale construction, and even precise land surveying. He handles every single customer whim, leaving zero time for breaks. It's total black company energy. Yet seeing the grateful smiles of the villagers reminds him why he never truly hated the hustle. Until tonight. Another sleepless night passes as his aging body aches and his vision begins to blur. Everything fades to white. Just as he's about to lose consciousness, an otherworldly force suddenly takes hold. The void swallows him whole, dropping his soul into an unknown realm. He had no clue where he was. Surrounded by pure white, his clothes suddenly feel massive, like his entire body had shriveled and shrunk. He screams in pure confusion until a mysterious voice rings out, congratulating him on being chosen. A goddess named Victinias descends gracefully from the heavens, announcing that he's about to be reincarnated. His destination, a fantasy realm teeming with magic and monsters. With his fate sealed, she sends him off. Masaru groans as he stirs. Instead of a buzzing alarm, a soft feminine voice rouses him from sleep. Confusion turns to shock when he spots a pair of twitching bunny ears. He bolts upright, instantly alert. Driven by pure curiosity and the absurdity of the moment, he reaches out to touch those ears. They're real soft and warm. The girl flinches, startled by the sudden contact, and quickly offers an apology. He asks who this bunny woman is, but she corrects him. She's actually a lapine with very real ears. Despite the shock, he composes himself after this bizarre encounter with one of the rabbit folk. This wasn't a dream. He'd truly been isekai'd into the vast, untamed wilderness the goddess had promised. However, reality is more terrifying than charming. Starting from zero is a nightmare, and panic starts setting in. Milo watches him spiral in silence. Sensing her gaze, he turns and drops a sudden, desperate question. He begs her to take him to her village. He's homeless and lost. He needs a massive favor. But he's human. In her village, humans are feared as cruel monsters who despise anyone not like them. Just like the dark tropes in manga, humans usually try to hunt her race for the slave trade. He pleads for a chance, but their conversation is cut short by a terrifying presence lurking nearby. A hobgoblin creeps up behind them wearing a sinister grin and radiating a level of pure, overwhelming power. This battle-scarred beast is a squad wiper. Milo grabs Masaru, screaming that they need to run right now. She's on the verge of tears, desperately begging him to flee. But her fear only triggers his hero instincts. Instead of retreating, he steps forward to shield her. He looks back, telling her to run for safety. He'll buy her time. If this monster is truly that lethal, he can't let it follow her home. She screams a warning about the danger, but he's already made up his mind. Go right now. He stands his ground as she flees. He's terrified, but protecting her felt like his only real choice. Adrenaline surges through his veins. He shouts, baiting the massive beast to focus all its rage on him. The creature roars, slamming its massive hammer down with enough force to literally shatter the earth. The shockwave sends him flying. The goblin sneers, mocking Masaru's pathetic and fragile human body. Frustrated and desperate, he prays for a cheat skill, anything to give him a fighting chance at survival. With no other options, he hurls a plastic water bottle. It bounces off the goblin's face, a pathetic sight. The monster bellows in laughter at the attack, its terrifying smile widening as it moves in for the kill. It looks like game over. But suddenly the beast slips on the bottle, losing its footing completely. The goblin's head cracks against a jagged rock, knocking it out cold. Masaru can only laugh in disbelief. It was like a freak accident caught on camera. Suddenly, a mysterious hand reaches through a portal. Wham! A stinging slap to the face snaps him back to reality. What do you think you're doing? She fuming. He was supposed to spawn in a peaceful village. Instead, he's stranded in the wild, nearly dying on day one. Victinias glares down at him, totally irritated. Why isn't he using the legendary skills she gifted him before his reincarnation? They argue about his sudden isekai trip caused by some god losing a bet with her. It's totally chaotic. He's trapped in a world she manages, confirming his new life. She ignores him, rambling about his age and stats. When he finally interrupts her, his head is spinning. He still can't believe this fantasy nightmare is actually real life. But there's no quit button here. This is his reality now, and the crushing weight of it finally hits him. Being an omniscient goddess, she realizes he's terrified. To calm him down, she decides to grant him some divine favor. She reveals her secret stash 3 skill coupons. To him, this feels exactly like the gacha games he used to play. As the process begins, a rift tears open. A massive hand reaches out and grabs her shoulder with a death grip. It's Hera. With a terrifyingly sweet smile, she declares that Victinias must give him 8 coupons instead of 3. The air turns cold as the elder goddess corrects her daughter. Victinius is dragged away to deal with family drama. Usually the one who lost the bet apologizes, but Hera is taking charge. She wants to settle this debt personally. Zeus and her daughter caused this mess and she's genuinely sorry. Masaru's jaw drops. These are literal Greek myths. Divine law is strict. They can only help chosen souls by granting blessings. They can give him the local tongue. But once he descends into the world, the gods are barred from interfering. He's completely on his own after that. Worse, Victinius was trying to scam him. She planned to pocket 5 of his 8 coupons for her own stash. Masaru is livid, but the bratty goddess just acts like a caught toddler and moves on to the gacha ritual. They summon a divine gacha machine. This holy slot machine will determine exactly what kind of powers he'll wield. Since they can't pick specific skills, there's a pity system, 1 bonus spin for every 10 pulls. Hera intervenes again. She forces Zeus and Victinius to cough up 2 more coupons as an apology. Now he's got 11 total pulls. Victinius pouts, shouting about how blessed he is with 11 skills, while conveniently ignoring her attempted heist. Hyped up, he yanks the lever. First drop, level 3, appraisal. Not exactly legendary, but it's a solid start. Next is level 4, stonemasonry. The goddesses claim his luck is cracked, promising that something epic is coming next. But then, the luck turns mid. He pulls basic labor skills like butchering, mining, and even leather tanning. The wheel keeps spinning, granting him a high-level dimensional storage, along with smithing alchemy and basic healing. Magic and logging join his list. His luck stat is absurdly high, yet his skill levels are depressingly average. Finally, he scores a rare map skill with a 3-kilometer radius. It's the only crown jewel in his collection. He's almost in tears. Is the universe telling him to become a fantasy carpenter instead of a legendary hero? The gacha session ends. The skills are locked in, and it's finally time for his descent into the new world. He snaps back to reality. Each skill ticket is a rare divine gift, and he just burned through 10. He realizes his handyman skills aren't built for combat, but Victinius isn't interested in his pathetic excuses. "You're not on Earth anymore," she barks. "There's a goblin right there, so quit whining and start fighting." She shoves the monster's heavy spiked club into his hands. In this world, it's kill or be killed. No mercy. He has to face his new life. Aim for the head, she commands. 1 shot, and it's all over. Crunch. He lands the blow perfectly. She actually praises him before ordering him to open his status window. He's annoyed by her pushiness, but obeys. With a thought, he summons the glowing blue interface into existence. Level up. The goblin's death granted him some much-needed XP. The goddess prepares to heal his wounds and teleport him. She's ready to warp him to a village, but he stops her. "Wait. I found a girl in the forest." A girl. This far out, Masaru explains she's from a rabbit folk tribe, a demi-human he met moments ago. Victinius panics, demanding he protect her and find her village. Suddenly, a hand clamps onto the goddess's neck. Victinius spins around, fuming but freezes under Hera's icy glare. No more interfering with mortals, the queen warns. The bratty deity is hauled back into the portal. Hera encourages Masaru to live freely in this brand new world. The gods vanish, leaving a heavy silence. Then, a familiar voice cries out. It's May, the rabbit girl. She's returned with armed villagers to save him. He smiles at the weeping girl as she hugs him relieved. Her people pour out their thanks, moved that he risked everything for a complete stranger. They ask about the goblin and he simply points. The sight leaves them all speechless. A solo kill. Unbelievable. He laughs it off, claiming the beast just had a clumsy accident. The situation is wild, but his most urgent problem is finding a place to stay tonight. Luckily, they agreed to take him in. Relief and gratitude finally shine in his tired eyes. Welcoming May's savior is easy, but first he must face the village chief for a talk. Everything happened in a blur earlier. There was zero time for any real conversation until now. Now May properly introduces herself. Hearing her call him Big Brother warms his heart instantly. She worries at his reaction, but he just admits he didn't expect such a sweet greeting. He offers a hand and smiles. Inside, he still wonders what he's actually capable of doing. No matter the doubts, his free life in this new world officially kicks off right here. Masaru was just a 36-year-old hardware clerk until the day his normal life vanished. The goddess Victinius summoned him without warning, isekai'ing him into this realm without a second thought. Despite scoring 11 divine tickets, he got 0 combat skills. Talk about a massive gacha fail. Worse yet, a goblin attacked him immediately. He really thought his new life was over already. Staring death in the face, a twist of fate led him to the rabbit people's village. At the entrance, he sees a humble settlement. It's simple, but the sight is surprisingly impressive. Being the only human, all eyes are on him. Here, everyone must work together to survive. May beams, hoping he'll eventually see everyone in this village as his own new family. He's grateful, but notices the defensive fence is just some pathetic logs tied loosely together. With these houses, they're basically in the Stone Age. They've only been here for 2 years. Masaru realizes how tough their lives are as they reach the chief's large wooden cabin. Stepping inside, he finds Toro, the village leader, busy organizing a pile of arrows nearby. The chief is surprisingly welcoming. He'd heard the rumors, though he doubted a lone human initially. Toro looks young. Still, Masaru bows deeply, thanking them for the rescue and the shelter. Without them, he'd be monster food. Toro insists they are the ones who owe him everything. He officially welcomes the young man. For now, Masaru will be bunking at Mei's small house. Her father is gone, so the household desperately needs another pair of hands to help. He worries about being a burden, but she insists he's more than welcome in their home. Once again, he feels overwhelmed by their kindness. This level of hospitality is truly unexpected. The sun is setting. It's time to settle in so they can discuss village business tomorrow. They've been so kind. He wonders if an outsider like him has anything to offer back. Leaving the chief's cabin, he remembers his old life working at a humble hardware store. Weighing his past experience against his divine skills and the village's state, something finally clicks. It wasn't just bad luck. He realizes there's something huge he can actually do for them. He calls out to the chief urgently, declaring he's found the perfect thing to offer them. He still needs permission. He asks if the chief will let him upgrade the whole village. It's a bold pitch from a total stranger. He promises to fix their houses and lives. He emphasizes that he can level up their living conditions and fortify their very homes. Toro hides his excitement. He can tell this human isn't just talking big for no reason. Still, he must be cautious. A newcomer wanting to change everything makes people very nervous. Masaru understands. Trust takes time to build, especially when you're the new guy in town. However, the safety risks are too high to ignore. He can't just watch them get hurt. They can't delay these essential preparations just because they're afraid of a stranger's new ideas. Masaru was always a meddler. Now he's determined to give this village his absolute best effort. He's dead set on giving back to the community that saved his life. Failure isn't an option. He'll fix every mistake with that signature hardware store grit. Moved by his fire, Toro asks, "What's the first disaster on your list to tackle?" The chief senses his absolute sincerity. Deep down, he knows this village desperately needs a glow-up. They've discussed it before, and Masaru is ready to strike at the most glaring issue first. Easier said than done. He dives into his skill menu, searching for the perfect cheat code. Staring at his potential, he wonders, will he become a slave to these god-tier abilities? Foreign innate powers fill his screen. It's time for a live-action testing spree, one by one. His eyes gleam as he inspects a small hatchet, unlocking a full spec sheet instantly. High-tier quality. He handles the borrowed gear gently, realizing these skills require zero prior training. Scrolling through the menu, he hunts for any hidden gems that could speed up his mission. He spots a tool-free woodcutting skill. Skeptical but hyped, he steps up to a massive tree. He reaches out, feeling a surge of energy. Nothing seems different, until the trunk suddenly snaps. Timber. The tree collapses in a surgical clean cut, nearly crushing him in the process. 1/6 of his mana gone. That's the steep price for a single level 1 activation. So far so good. Farming and smithing can wait. It's time to unlock the processing tab. There it is, masonry. This is exactly what he needs to rebuild this place. No hammer required. He grabs a random rock, envisioning it as a perfect geometric cube. Flash. The stone morphs instantly. Rough edges form, draining 1/10 of his mana pool. Size definitely matters for mana cost. Next up, flash drying that timber with the ultimate skill. Since both skills share the same level, it's the perfect time for an efficiency benchmark. That log is prime material, but he's got to suck out every drop of moisture first. Usually this takes years of air drying or months with crazy expensive machinery. But with his cheat skill, it's instant. He reaches out, ready to defy the laws of nature. As twilight falls, Mei searches for Masaru. Instead of a hard worker, she finds him totally unconscious. Crushed under a log, he looks more wrecked than after his life-or-death hobgoblin brawl. Pure mana depletion. The idiot went way too hard and emptied his tank completely. Despite the embarrassment, his work was flawless. He actually turned that wood into perfect, usable planks. Dinner served. Back at Mei's place, he finally meets the matriarch of the house, Ruru. She welcomes him warmly, while Mei non-stop brags about his legendary hobgoblin slaying skills. It's party time. The humble hut isn't much, but it's a sanctuary for this makeshift family. For the first time, he feels home. The rabbit tribe's hospitality is honestly on another level. Maybe he can survive this world after all. Time to go all in and live this life. Repaying his debt feels impossible, but he'll move mountains for them if he has to. Tomorrow, the renovation begins. Masaru rallies the villagers to unveil his grand reconstruction plan. The village VIPs gather at the entrance. Step 1. Beefing up those flimsy defensive fences. Morale skyrockets. With the chief's backing, everyone is hyped to finally fortify their home. Why the fences first? Safety is priority 0, and these wood sticks won't stop anything. Low-level beasts could breeze through this. Masaru's solution. We're going full stone tier defense. There's a cliff loaded with rock nearby, but the villagers worry who's going to carry it. Hauling heavy boulders to the gates seems impossible, but Masaru says, hold my beer. He and May already pulled a stealth mission. Suddenly, a mountain of stone erupts from nowhere. Dimensional storage, the ultimate inventory cheat. The crowd watches jaws dropping at the impossible sight. Carrying a rare power like that, yeah, the rumor mill is already starting to spin wildly. This is top secret high-tier magic. He better keep this hidden before things get complicated. Now, every hand is needed to pile the boulders. The villagers begin the grind, but they're instantly halted. The project lead steps in with a warning. Simple stacking won't cut it. The wall would collapse under the slightest pressure. There's a precise art to this, and he's about to demonstrate. Masaru takes charge, tackling an entire section solo. He reveals the secret to the crowd. The real game changer lies in the specific dimensions and the sequence of the stones. This is what determines the structure's survival. A clean facade is nice, but depth is where the true strength hides. To maximize durability, you have to optimize the contact points between each rock. By increasing this surface area, they lock together perfectly, becoming nearly impossible to shift. Just changing the layering technique elevates the wall's quality tenfold. He's even got a pro strat for when the village expands. When crafting the outer shell of the defense, they can utilize internal filling, a legendary tactic used for castle ramparts. The core is reinforced with massive boulders. Then smaller stones fill the gaps, allowing rainwater to drain while keeping the barrier rock solid. It's built to withstand the test of time. Since this is advanced stuff, he tells them to master the basics first. He urges them to give it their all. Masaru's leadership is borderline bossy now, but it gets the job done. He chuckles, remembering how his old bosses used to bark orders. Suddenly, the village women approach him for a chat. Rumor reached them that he can revolutionize their cooking and water boiling game. He knows their struggle. Slaving over open flames for the whole tribe is brutal, so he plans a proper stove. They ask him, almost threateningly, if this happens after the fence is finished. He realizes this isn't a request. It's an ultimatum from the kitchen bosses. He knows better than to cross them. To survive, he obediently vows to build the stoves alongside the fortification. Conflict avoided. Later that evening, Masaru gathers the group in the town square to begin the project. He'll handle the heavy stonework for the stoves, but he needs their collaboration. The women are fired up to help. When asked for extra supplies, he requests they gather clay, wild grass, and fine sand. These will be packed into the stone crevices to fortify the base. The grass and sand get mixed into the clay. This mixture acts as a high-grade binder, ensuring the structure doesn't become brittle or crack. Mike takes point on leading the task. Meanwhile, Masaru reminds everyone to speak up if they need anything else. They don't hesitate requesting deep wooden bowls and proper eating tools. For Masaru, this costs almost 0 mana. He goes the extra mile, offering to craft tables and chairs for everyone, since his creation skills make it effortless. It'll take a few days to finalize, but he promises to turn these blueprints into reality very soon. He even pitches the idea of a covered plaza, allowing them to cook comfortably even during a downpour. His vision and confidence leave them speechless. He's not just a genius. His construction prowess is legendary. Blushing, he claims it's nothing special, just skills he picked up from his soul-crushing former job. This sparks their curiosity about his past life. In reality, he was just a jack-of-all-trades doing the dirty work. It was an exhausting existence filled with endless back-breaking chores that pushed his body to the limit. But those dark days are over. With a surge of energy, he rallies everyone to start building their new future. The following days are grueling, spent hauling massive rocks under the sun. Yet the labor feels incredibly rewarding. Building alongside the villagers changes everything. Soon, even the local housing begins to evolve. Crude huts are replaced by sturdy wooden structures. The new kitchenware and tools are finished in record time. He even starts sharing advanced farming techniques. Eventually, the villagers become fascinated by the chopsticks Masaru uses. The work is sweltering and intense, but the momentum never stops. Before long, the rabbit village is transformed. It looks absolutely nothing like the humble settlement it was before his arrival. Toro stands in awe, unable to believe how much his beloved home has leveled up. He can't stop smiling. A massive cheer erupts as the final stone of the barricade is set, creating an impenetrable shield for the village. Everyone celebrates, beaming with pride at the masterpiece they created with their own 2 hands. Suddenly, a firm voice cuts through the cheers, telling them to drop everything because dinner is served. The new covered plaza is buzzing with life as the entire tribe enjoys a feast together in total comfort. The new stoves are a massive hit. Masaru notes that while forks aren't popular, they've really taken to the chopsticks. Just then, the chief spots him mingling and heads over to join the conversation. Toro showers him with praise, but our hero stays humble, crediting the village's collective effort for their success. Mere words can't capture their depth of gratitude. Only their raw sincerity remains to be offered. Mike lunges for a massive bear hug, beaming as their home finally breathes with new, prosperous life. Within the celestial realm, 2 goddesses watch his radiant smile through a shimmering divine portal. Even without Victinia's meddling, she scoffs that his survival is nothing more than a stroke of pure luck. With 11 skills already locked in, his rapid growth leaves the deities both anxious and deeply impressed. To them, he's a total glitch in the human system, an anomaly they've tracked since the very beginning. While most are born mundane, he's built different, earning Hera's rare praise for her husband's legendary choice. This world's culture has stagnated for a decade, yet Masaru has only just begun his journey there. He's already become the ultimate spark for change. This young man truly is something special. They've finally found peace and security, but Masaru insists this is just the opening act of their story. He dreams of stone walls and a sprawling city secrets he previously kept tucked away from the others. His top priority, proper plumbing, because answering nature's call in the wild is getting real old real fast. Leveraging this fantasy world logic, he realizes he needs to grill Toro for some specific, crucial information. He asks about local slimes. Turns out a deadly colony lurks right by the jagged, dangerous cliffs. A smirk plays on Masaru's lips. Those dangerous blobs are exactly what he needs to upgrade the village. It's time for a hygiene revolution. But going pro requires some serious raw materials and planning. He's calculating a recipe for solid ground, but his question about the ocean suddenly kills the entire mood. The air turns frigid as an eerie silence washes over the villagers, catching him completely off guard. May confirms the coast is close, but her voice trembles. They didn't just leave the sea, they fled it. A rabbitkin adds that humans brutally hunted them down, breaking into tears at the haunting, painful memory. Masaru feels a surge of pure disgust. Despite being hunted by his kind, these people still welcomed him. The bunny folk opened their hearts to him completely. Sensing the heavy vibe, he tries to pivot the conversation. Pointing to a wooden table, he explains that true progress requires resources only found on that forbidden shore. Those materials are essential, yet he knows the coast represents a painful, deeply personal past for his friends. He can't just drag them back to their trauma, so he decides to brave the tides entirely alone. Sunrise hits, and he's shocked to find May geared up. He firmly tells her she's staying behind. The road is treacherous. He admits that taking down that hobgoblin was mostly just a lucky break. If a real monster horde strikes, she needs to be a warrior, not just a witness to the carnage. A village elder steps in, agreeing that this expedition is way above her current skill level. She lacks the battle scars needed for this. Seeing the chief, Masaru feels a wave of genuine appreciation. Grateful for the personal send-off, Masaru receives a sturdy set of armor from the old man for protection. The chief's request is heavy. If Masaru finds any kin at the coast, give them a message of hope. Tell them they've found a sanctuary. Masaru nods, carving that promise into his very soul. He plans to scout for other beastmen, leaving May and the others under the chief's watchful, experienced eye. He gives the bunny girl a soft, parting look. As she sobs, he gently tells her to stay safe. With gear packed, he vanishes into the horizon. By day 4, he's pushing his limits at a full sprint. The wind whips past as his stamina holds steady, his mental map skill guiding him like a GPS. He reaches the glowing orange coastline, having carved through every monster that dared to cross his path. He spots a group struggling with a bogged-down wagon and jumps in to help without a second thought. Little did he know they were vultures in disguise. But the victim quickly turned into their worst nightmare. These thugs were a joke compared to a hobgoblin. He mows them down with a crude wooden club. He's ready to deliver a final blow when the goddess's warnings echo vividly in his mind. Evil men deserve a brutal lesson, yet he chooses a different path, activating his healing magic instead. He patches up the wounds he inflicted, choosing mercy over execution, despite their wicked intentions. Claiming his loot and that coveted weapon, he secures a legendary deal before continuing his arduous trek. Suddenly the map pulses, guiding him toward the coastal city. He wonders if his friends once lived there. After prepping May's gear, he advances toward the settlement. Ahead, a lonely watchtower looms over the horizon. It's a total ghost town, looted and trashed. His blood runs cold seeing a savage pack of goblins. They're mid-raid, every monster locks eyes on him. He drops his bag, summoning his blade from spatial storage. Analyzing the crowd, he spots weak hobgoblins among the trash. He grips his sword, ready to unleash hell. He cleaves through them with ease. The bandit's former blade carves through goblin flesh like a divine tool. Finally, he can test his raw combat prowess, level 1 swordsmanship, powered by pure grit, without any magic. This isn't a system cheat. He forged this skill himself. Back in school, his kendo talent was already legendary. Now those martial fundamentals flow like water. He dances through chaos, putting on an absolute clinic in kendo. Goblins drop like flies with every surgical strike. He's locked in, certain he can wipe them all out. Suddenly, a massive boar thunders forward with a goblin rider. Masaru is now face to face with the gang boss. The beast rams him with terrifying force. He's slammed down but springs back up as it charges again. His lungs burn as he gasps for air. He needs a plan to take down the goblin rider. Reaching the rider is a nightmare. One wrong move means getting pulverized by that mountain of muscle. That impact felt like a high-speed car wreck. But mid-pain, Masaru realizes the beast's one fatal flaw. This boar is just a speeding vehicle with zero brakes. Once it gains momentum, it cannot simply stop. Testing his theory, he taps into his storage space and manifests a massive log in the boss's path. The collision is brutal. The chief is catapulted into the air. This is the opening Masaru desperately needed. He seizes the moment, plunging his blade deep into its chest. One clean kill to wrap this up. He hunts down the survivors before they call for backup. The monsters are shaking. Total panic has set in. Letting them escape means a whole army returns. Suddenly, a lethal rain of arrows whistles through the air. The Great Kingdom's knights have arrived. One soldier steps forward, barking orders and demanding to know his identity. Drained from the slaughter, Masaru can't even process the question. The impatient knight yells, but another intervenes. Captain Cook steps in, apologizing for his subordinate. He leads this unit on a high-stakes goblin extermination mission. Turns out they're late. Masaru already cleared the field solo, a feat that leaves the captain genuinely stunned. Masaru offers thanks, introducing himself as a simple traveler, scavenging for vital resources in this dangerous world. He quickly gathers that these knights are the ones tasked with keeping this rough territory under control. Meanwhile, Cook wonders if Masaru knows about the rabbit village. Getting that intel will be quite tricky. Defeating a boss solo is a major flex. Cook keeps the conversation going, probing Masaru's mysterious background. He starts digging, asking about his home, his age, and if he's hiding some god-tier combat skills. Then comes the big pitch. Cook invites him to join the knights. Masaru goes quiet, processing the offer. He turns it down. He's got a debt of gratitude to settle, and his journey won't end yet. Impressed by his loyalty, Cook slaps his back. It's refreshing compared to greedy knights seeking only fame. Masaru shifts focus, asking where the villagers vanished to. He needs to know if anyone survived the raid. The captain reveals they retreated to a nearby village to escape the green tide of attacking goblins. Since the threat is neutralized, they can return. But first, Masaru makes one final crucial suggestion. He proposes clearing out the rotting goblin corpses. Cook looks confused, so Masaru breaks down the reality. Leaving bodies out is a buffet for apex predators, and a breeding ground for deadly infectious diseases. The play is simple: dig a pit, burn the remains, and bury them. The knights actually help. As they haul the corpses, Masaru realizes this region is seriously lacking in basic sanitation and hygiene. Leaving monsters to rot is a rookie mistake. He takes charge, finding the perfect spot for burial. While scouting the area, something catches his eye, a hidden crawl space tucked away from the naked eye. He investigates, uncovering a shocker. Meanwhile, Hera is left absolutely floored by Masaru's lightning-fast progress. Blown away by his evolution, she orders Vicinius to rewind the footage back to the very beginning. Witnessing the Goblin King's defeat, Hera pulls up the secret records of the prodigy Masaru Lee. A national kendo monster in 9th grade, he dominated as a high school runner-up. A pro boxing beast. Are all the chosen ones this high spec? They suspect Zeus modified his physical vessel during the reincarnation process. His combat power is insane, yet he's crushing high-rank beasts. Victinius finally feels relieved, but Hera warns of danger. Masaru's existence could break the world balance. If left unchecked, Victinius might vanish forever. Back at the village, everyone hails Cook and the knights. They plan to resume their lives, but Cook reveals the truth: Masaru was the savior. He soloed the goblins. Now they want to offer a legendary reward for his bravery. Masaru hesitates before accepting. Cook stares down Chief Garby, demanding the village pay up. Garby is sweating. The village is broke. Extra payments are impossible. They're already struggling, but Masaru has something else in mind. Forget gold. He asks for simple wooden crates and water jugs instead. Cook is stunned. That's it. He needs them to haul seawater and loot. And fresh seafood. Cook realizes he's still farming materials for his base. Masaru confirms he needs resources for his floors and walls. Cook looks at the chief. He tells Garby this deal is a steal for saving everyone from a massacre. The chief wavers. Crates are fine, but jugs are essential for coastal survival. Masaru sees through the act. This greedy old man is dodging the reward. He retorts that the village doesn't need to hoard water anymore. Because a hidden well exists nearby. Garby freezes. How did he find it? Found it by luck, Masaru says coldly. Immediately the knight sees the chief. He'd been hoarding water while the people suffered. The scarcity was a lie. Garby was just a selfish snake playing God. Masaru turns to leave, but the villagers block him, screaming, "How can we survive without our leader?" Masaru is baffled. The guy robbed them. Still, they won't let him pass. They lunge at him in a frenzy. Crack Masaru levels a man with one punch. He mops the floor with them effortlessly. Later, Cook finds the aftermath of the brawl. Masaru just shrugs. They jumped me. I had to defend myself. Easier than the goblins, he scoffs. Cook sighs at the chaos, then turns to Garby. Did the chief order this hit? It was a plot to kill Masaru. For masterminding the assault, Garby is sentenced to the slave mines. The chief wails for mercy. Being a slave is a slow, painful death sentence. Masaru grins at his terror. He offers to forget the assault effectively, lightening the sentence. They'll still be punished, but they'll live. What's the catch? Answers. Masaru replies. 2 years ago, wasn't this rabbit tribe territory? He stares him down. What did you do to kick them out? Garbe seethes, ordering Cook to silence the kid. But the knight isn't listening. He demands the truth instead. Suddenly, a knight named Eldam steps in. He shields the chief from Masaru. Why dig up the past? Eldam asks. Masaru reveals he owes the rabbit tribe a huge debt. His eyes turn sharp. He senses Eldam and Garbe are hiding a dark secret. He's going to find out. Seeing that killer intent, Eldam buckles. He knows Masaru will tear the truth out. 5 years ago, the new king's greed ignited. He wanted to expand the empire. Every surrounding village was crushed. One of them belonged to the rabbits. The rabbit clan stood no chance. Eldam and Garbe spearheaded a brutal conquest, forcing the peaceful tribe to abandon their ancestral home. Their suffering became the kingdom's gain. As the land was annexed, Eldam received an immediate promotion for his cold-blooded efficiency. Garbe took his prize as the new village chief. Ultimately, the kingdom's bottomless greed devoured everything the rabbit people once owned. The horror didn't end there. All demi-humans captured during the invasion were stripped of their humanity and branded as slaves. They were broken, humiliated, and forced to live in the shadows. Seeing this, Masaru's blood begins to boil with righteous fury. Release them now, Masaru barks his patience, hitting 0. Kuki desperately tries to play peacemaker, urging him to stay calm. Kuki understands the rage but drops a cold truth under current laws. These people are now considered legal property. Masaru's logic turns sharp. If property is just about force, he asks if beating the captors would make the slaves his. Kuki claims that's not how it works, but Masaru scoffs. It was that exact same twisted logic that allowed this slavery initially. Kuki sighs, admitting his hands are tied. In this kingdom, the shackles of slavery are protected by the iron hand of law. Masaru explodes. He can't wrap his head around how such gentle souls could be treated like livestock by this civilized nation. Don't preach about equality or law, he snarls. To him, they aren't leaders or citizens, they're just a pack of glorified murderers. After his outburst, the fire in Masaru's eyes dims slightly. He exhales, apologizing for letting his raw emotions take the wheel. He leaves them with a heavy ultimatum. He gives them time to reflect on their next move, and their very souls. Suddenly, space tears open, a portal appears, and a hand flashes out, delivering a stinging slap to Masaru's face. It's the goddess. Before he can react, she drags him into the rift. She's fuming, regretting bringing him here just to pick fights with the elite. She fears his reckless defiance will put a target on both their backs. To her, he's playing a dangerous game with high stakes. Masaru fires back. He was summoned against his will, losing the chance to ever see the woman he loved again. His words hit her like a physical blow. The goddess wavers, seeing his pain, but she still insists his behavior is totally out of line. Masaru finally backs down, admitting that even he can't dismantle an entire empire single-handedly. At least not yet. But Victinius's face gives her away. Masaru narrows his eyes, sensing that she's gatekeeping a massive secret about his own power. She tries to bail, but Masaru grabs her hand, demanding the truth. She recoils, realizing she can't hide the facts anymore. With a worried sigh, she spills it. If he really wanted to, Masaru actually has the power to wage war against a nation. Masaru is stunned. How is he that cracked? Victinius explains that during his rebirth, she basically rewrote his mana circuits for max efficiency. He's essentially a walking cheat code. His mana processing was boosted so hard it transformed him into something beyond human. His mana regeneration now rivals a great spirit. In the wrong hands, that kind of power is a literal walking natural disaster. Masaru is skeptical. He looks at his hands, claiming he doesn't feel any different or particularly godlike at the moment. The goddess insists he's just oblivious. His mana pool is bottomless. Even when sprinting at top speed, his stamina barely even flinches. His magic is incredibly easy to wield, and his physical raw strength completely shatters whatever his basic stats might suggest. Everything clicks. Masaru remembers all those times he pulled off impossible feats, thinking it was just standard isekai perks. He thought he was just lucky, but now he realizes he's a total anomaly in this world's power system. The goddess nods. Even though his level is currently low, his potential will skyrocket as his magic evolves over time. Masaru realizes the truth. She didn't just tweak his body, she went totally overboard with the modifications. She offers a guilty apology before vanishing into thin air. The next morning, Kuki arrives with some shocking news. Good news first, the demi-humans in this specific village are being granted their freedom. Masaru finally gets a small win. The catch. This freedom doesn't extend to other settlements. Kuki's authority has a very strict and frustrating limit. Masaru immediately pivots. He wants to know the status of the demi-humans held in other regions across the kingdom. Kuki reveals there are records of prisoners being held in the capital. Hearing this, Masaru's next destination is set in stone. He plans to march straight into the city and demand answers from the high-ranking authorities about the missing demi-humans. Kuki's expression goes south, looking twitchy. Masaru notices immediately and asks if there's something he isn't being told. Kuki plays it off, claiming he's just happy to help. Masaru warns him if negotiations fail, he's taking them back by force. Kuki panics, begging him to keep his sword sheathed. He set up this meeting specifically to prevent a total bloodbath. A carriage soon arrives to transport them. As Masaru climbs in, he asks about the city they're heading toward. Their destination is Porto, the legendary city of knights. As they approach the gates, Masaru is genuinely floored by the view. The city's sheer scale and development are breathtaking. Kuki looks on with pride, nodding as the urban landscape comes into view. While it doesn't rival the legendary fortress city, its defenses are still top tier. He can't help but compare this knightly stronghold to that primitive fishing village, which lacked even basic hygiene and common sense. This city of knights also reeks of beast corpses. It seems this is just the world's standard, and it leaves him feeling deeply uneasy. On the flip side, maybe it's a sign that liberating the beasts is actually possible. Meanwhile, the knights watch him laugh, in a totally bizarre way, which is honestly worrying. Now they're heading to the council to meet the city's leader. Negotiating requires an ID check at the gates. Cook tells him to get his guild card ready for the guards to inspect. Masaru gets super nervous as they reach the port's Adventurers Guild. Cook snaps at him for not having a guild card, comparing the teen to a lazy sloth since most get theirs at 12. Beyond the embarrassment, Masaru feels massive relief that his secret of being a reincarnated soul remains safe. Lacking a card, the guild receptionist greets him and asks him to place his hands on the magic tool nearby. He's totally blown away when the machine begins automatically crafting his official guild card right then and there. The receptionist explains that these cards are divine technology granted by the gods themselves. She warns that any fraud or forgery will lead to severe punishment. She adds that while personal details stay private, their registered name and criminal history are permanently visible. This data is strictly for identity verification and cannot be accessed by anyone else unless the owner is dead. Masaru is genuinely shocked by this high level of privacy protection, as he didn't expect such modern laws here. After the process is complete, she finally hands over the card. As he takes it, the two knights behind him are dying to see his stats. He carefully inspects the card. He requests his details and thinks it's basically just a printed version of his status screen. Meanwhile, the two knights are left speechless by the sheer number of skills listed on the card. He tries to hide his abilities, but it's too late. The knights are already whispering behind him in pure disbelief. Usually an adventurer has only 1 or 2 skills, but this kid has more titles than they've ever seen before. Masaru begs them to keep his secret and drop it. Both agree, still struggling to process his insane skill set. They brainstorm a convincing cover story to tell the city leader. They need to align their versions of Masaru's past perfectly. If not, they'd be busted and punished for lying. They finally arrive at the city hall for the meeting. The receptionist welcomes them and points them toward the conference room for Masaru's big appointment. Once they get clearance to enter the building, a wave of relief hits them, mixed with heavy interrogation pressure. As they walk toward the meeting room, Cook explains that Masaru is meeting the city's top representative. He's about to face the Grandmaster of the Knights. Normally, such a meeting would be impossible, but the leader found Masaru intriguing. They finally reach the room. They get the green light to enter. Masaru meets Lord Lancelot, and instantly feels his aura is on another level. His presence far outshines any other knight. He realizes this negotiation will be a brutal uphill battle. He approaches the leader to thank him for the audience. However, Lancelot tells him to skip the formalities as he already knows about his goal to free the demi-humans. Lancelot notes that with such a massive request, he must have something epic to trade. From his vibe, it's clear money won't work. He wants to know what Masaru is actually bringing to the table. Masaru silently observes the calm, unreadable ruler, who likely has several trump cards hidden away. Masaru decides to play his hand calmly, stating that his offer to the city is his vast knowledge. Lancelot is skeptical of such a vague pitch and demands a clear explanation everyone can understand. Masaru explains that his knowledge can slash mortality rates while boosting sanitation and food supplies. He promises to increase employment and lift the standard of living. He suggests starting with their carriages. He noticed how uncomfortable the journey was since carriages lack spring mechanisms to absorb the brutal impacts. He offers to build smoother, faster carriages using advanced science. He also adds that horses shouldn't go barefoot. The explanation is cut short when Lancelot's secretary suddenly enters to deliver an urgent report. Lancelot nods, acknowledging that Masaru's knowledge is a total game-changer. These upgrades are vital, but trust isn't something he hands out for free. The ruler demands receipts. Without tangible results, Masaru is just another talker. Proof is the only way to win over the people. Masaru asks, "Do I have to enlist?" Lancelot smirks, knowing he already ghosted Cook's offer. That ship has sailed. He demands cold hard results. No more talk, it's time to show up. The demi-humans stay locked up until Masaru proves his worth. The grind begins now. He must produce miracles or face execution for fraud. The stakes are lethal. Still want to deal with your head on the line? Masaru doesn't flinch. Lancelot accepts. He challenges him to fix the city's sanitation and transport systems. Show me results and the demi-humans go free. Masaru is absolutely stunned. He's sent to handle the paperwork. Masaru can't believe this legendary generosity. For Lancelot, it's just business. It's all about a shift in perspective. Clearing out potential rebels while gaining tech, that's a massive win for him. They both agree that war was just a pathetic invasion of the weak. Masaru smiles, realizing the leader actually has a soul. A decree is coming. He'll free the demi-humans, but the haters are definitely going to riot. How do we handle the pushback? Lancelot asks. Masaru's brain starts cooking. Duel them all, Masaru proposes. If they lose their right to complain. Lancelot is vibing with the idea. Finally, someone who knows how to have fun. In a city of knights, might is right. Strength is the only language they speak. Defeat the strongest and you sit at the top. No questions asked. Lancelot draws his steel. You cleared a goblin horde, you're worthy of my blade. A duel challenge. Masaru is shook, wondering how to survive a legendary knight. The ruler is way too hyped. Terrified, Masaru tries to nope his way out. I'd hate to bruise the king, he jokes. But Lancelot already booked the arena. No escape. Masaru sighs and just asks for the date of his doom. Class is in session. Masaru starts dropping knowledge bombs about basic hygiene. He explains why being clean is vital and demands a team to spread the word. The knights try to sneak out like students avoiding a math test. Try to skip, and you'll get a private lesson, Masaru warns with a glare. Leaders lead from the front, he snaps. That means learning how to wash up. Lancelot praises his attention to detail before trying to bail for training. Masaru blocks the exit. You too, King. The sanitation lecture officially begins. Proper waste disposal is key. Rotting trash attracts the rats that carry death. The summary: boil your water, cook your meat, and stay clean. Basic survival. It's survival 101, but the knights look like their brains are melting. Lancelot is impressed but skeptical. Can washing hands really change the world? It slashes the death rate, Masaru explains. It's the ultimate shield against disease. No more plagues. Period. Hearing this, Lancelot's entire demeanor shifts. Who are you, he asks. Even the top labs don't have this forbidden intel. This knowledge is priceless. Suddenly, the original deal feels way too lopsided. Masaru is confused. Why is helping your city a problem for me? Lancelot is too honorable. He hates owing favors. The man is pure class. Respect earned. Masaru stops being humble and asks for access to the forge. The carriage needs a massive overhaul, and Masaru has endless ideas. Lancelot gives him the green light. He promises to have the entire workspace ready for him by the crack of dawn. Lancelot admits the forge is decent, but skilled artisans are non-existent out here. On the frontier, the best talent always flocks to the big cities. Entering the warehouse, they find piles of raw materials. Masaru demands every available man help out, shocking everyone, by ordering a total inventory overhaul. Disgusted, he snaps that no self-respecting craftsman would ever step foot in such a chaotic workshop. He mobilizes the knights, ordering them to count the stock and identify what's still missing. They must inspect every material for defects to ensure their final products aren't total trash. The place needs a deep clean too, which finally makes Lancelot speak up in protest. Lancelot claims the knights can manage themselves, but that only fuels Masaru's burning frustration. It's a lie. Everything is buried under dust. Since he once worked in a hardware store, the mess is painful. Back home, he managed thousands of items. If one number was off, he'd spend hours fixing it. Fuming, he commands the ruler to scrub the back warehouse until it sparkles. Intimidated, Lancelot obeys. Masaru enters his most serious state, ready to unleash his god-tier inventory management skills. Later, he leads the knights on a mission to completely reorganize the entire workshop. He barks orders to clean the place and ensure the stock count is absolutely perfect. They pull an all-nighter. By sunrise, Masaru is actually impressed with how the place looks. Scanning the list, he's shocked to find legendary ores like black steel and vermilion mineral. He notes the massive overstock is draining the city's gold. Unfortunately, more ore keeps arriving. The secretary admits they're stuck in a long-term supply contract that's impossible to cancel. The deals were signed before they even arrived and won't expire for another full year. Masaru suggests a pivot. They need to turn these dormant minerals into something valuable and useful. He sees ores he's never heard of and wants to experiment with ratios to find insane alloys. The secretary looks lost, so he explains that blending different metals can create entirely new materials. For instance, mixing copper and tin gives you bronze. It is basic alchemy. With bronze, they can forge basic weapons, and he even demonstrates how to blend metals. He mentions making stainless steel, leaving the secretary even more confused. Masaru tries to dumb it down, explaining that some ores are too brittle on their own. But by adding another metal, you can forge a material with legendary new properties. She finally gets it, but realizes an amateur artisan couldn't handle such a complex process. They need a pro. She leaves to handle paperwork and find a master craftsman on her own. Masaru doesn't wait. He checks his system stats, ready to test his own blacksmithing abilities. His jaw drops when he realizes he can forge a blade just by using his imagination. This skill is absolutely broken. He tests it by instantly transforming raw depot minerals into pure iron. A smirk creeps across his face. He decides to start small by crafting a simple dagger. Seeing a knife on the table and the nearby forge, he prepares to create his first weapon. He's always wanted to try this. He melts the iron down and begins hammering it into shape. He repeats the process until the blade is perfect, then plunges the glowing metal into cold water. Suddenly, Lancelot appears behind him, stunned to see Masaru forging weapons far beyond everything he was already capable of. Startled by his stealthy presence, Lancelot reveals he's been around. Since noon stopping by to finish the stock check and sharpen his own blade, he asks if the kid can craft something better than the junkyard scrap in the depot and suggests a test of skill as his own sword is beyond dull no matter how much he hones it. His blade has lost its edge completely no matter how much he tries to sharpen it. He hopes Masaru's new skills can finally give him a weapon worthy of a knight. The steel is chipped and warped beyond recognition. Such flaws usually spell doom in battle, yet he manages to endure, solely through his god-tier swordsmanship. Sensing the warrior's hidden irritation, Masaru steps in to inspect the blade and evaluate the damage. Meanwhile, Lancelot's gaze drifts toward the chaotic spread of materials on the workbench. Masaru reveals these scrap pieces are components meant to revolutionize the lives of the city's residents. This mechanical wonder aims to conquer heavy labor, but Lancelot stares back completely lost by the complex design. Going beyond his contract, Masaru burns with the urge to test it. He vows to unveil the finished masterpiece tomorrow. He invites Lancelot to witness the debut. Intrigued by the inventor's fire, the ruler agrees to judge the results. After that, Masaru dives back into his work, politely asking the leader to give him space so he can truly focus. Lancelot heads for the exit, but pauses to steal one last glance. He finds Masaru locked in a state of absolute obsession and pure passion. It mirrors the spark he felt when he first grasped a sword. He warns Masaru not to overwork. As twilight blankets the city, Masaru finally tightens the last bolt on his secret project. He might have gone overboard, but seeing people thrive is his ultimate fuel. By the next day, the entire city will witness his brilliance. But invention is only half the battle. He must also educate the masses. He'll tackle sanitation training and even dreams of launching a crash course in advanced craftsmanship for the common folk. At the crack of dawn, Masaru wakes to find a mysterious woman staring him down. After a sleepy blink, he recognizes the knight's royal messenger. She huffs, complaining that the lazy knights dumped all their paperwork on her. While they were busy studying, she's here on business, a chilling reminder of his looming showdown with Lancelot in 3 days. He's expected at the training grounds at daybreak. She admits he's got guts for challenging their lord. Lancelot isn't just a ruler, he's a total combat junkie who lives for the hunt. However, this duel might prove Lancelot's respect for him. Still, she warns Masaru that he's walking into a literal lion's den. The medical squad will be standing by just in case things get bloody. Masaru laughs it off, claiming he'll probably not need them. The messenger's eyes sparkle. This match is the most hype thing she's seen in years. Suddenly, Masaru snaps back to reality and realizes he needs her help to gather the entire town at the plaza for a live demo. Later, Lancelot and his elite guard wait in anticipation. Masaru finally emerges from the shadows of the old well, a confident grin plastered across his face. He's pleased the ruler arrived early. Lancelot's eyes immediately lock onto the strange contraption bolted to the well from the night before. With a booming voice, Masaru beckons the crowd. He's about to unveil a revolutionary way to draw water. This device is a game changer for daily chores and incredibly simple to operate. To start the show, he invites a random villager forward, proving that even women and children can master this new technology. The process is effortless. First, he pours a splash of water into the pump's specialized intake hole. This primes the system, purging the air to create a powerful vacuum that yanks water from the depths. The liquid rushes into the pipe. Now, with just a few rhythmic pumps of the lever, something amazing happens. Crystal clear water cascades into the waiting bucket. The villagers gasp in shock, whispering that this must be dark magic. Masaru beams with pride. This isn't sorcery, it's science. He introduces the crowd to the world's first hand pump. With the first success in the bag, he eyes the capital city next. But his thirst for innovation isn't quenched yet. The local carriages are painfully outdated and killing trade. Masaru crawls under a wagon to inspect its primitive design. It's basically just a wooden box bolted to a rigid metal axle. To fix this, he needs a total overhaul. He needs to decouple the passenger cabin from the wheels. A new reinforced upper frame is the only solution. By suspending the seats and adding front and rear springs, he'll defy gravity. The onlookers just look completely baffled. He admits he's winging the vibration mechanics, but he's ready to gamble on a prototype. He starts building the base immediately. Utilizing his modern world genius, he sketches blueprints and reinforces the timber until a sleek new chassis emerges. Once the prototype is polished, he calls Lancelot over for a test drive. The machine is finally ready for action. They hitch it to a stallion and let a knight take the reins. Lancelot's eyes widen as the carriage glides forward. The violent rattling of the old wagons is gone. While not perfectly smooth, it's a luxury ride compared to the past. It's incredibly cozy. Masaru grins, explaining the magic of advanced suspension and shock absorbers. A tech marvel, no local carriage possesses a unified axle fused with springs for a smoother ride. He's even teasing independent suspension, an advanced setup where each wheel conquers the terrain individually. This is just the beginning. Even crazier designs are coming soon. He also plans on engineering the passenger area to be large enough to haul 9 to 10 people. Lancelot's eyes light up when he hears this, realizing that travel during expeditions is about to become a whole lot easier. Masaru agrees, pointing out that they constantly need to introduce new technology to advance their daily lives and simplify their tasks. Hearing about the souped-up wagon, other knights volunteer to test it out and see just how comfortable it really is. While they're busy with the test drives, Masaru pulls Lancelot into the workshop to show him some other tools he's constructed. He promises to teach the artisans how to repair them, but Lancelot senses Masaru wants to talk about something else and tells him to just spit it out. Masaru comments that the commander is incredibly sharp and admits that what they truly need is justice in their negotiations. Lancelot agrees and asks what Masaru wants in exchange for helping the village so much, especially since many of these upgrades weren't even in the contract. Masaru answers directly. He wants to forge a pact that bans any invasions between beastmen and humans. On top of that, he asks to receive a portion of the surplus ore from it. Lancelot goes quiet for a moment, weighing the conditions. After a brief pause, he accepts, and Masaru lets out a sigh of relief. And just like that, a mutually beneficial treaty is set in motion. As long as it doesn't interfere with everyday life, Lancelot will allow it, but he warns that other countries might not do the same, so the young man must remain cautious. Masaru expresses his gratitude, calling him an honorable person. Lancelot takes his leave, telling him to give it his all in the approaching duel and declaring that he expects a legendary battle. The comment sends a shiver down Masaru's spine. He knows he's about to face a genuine combat maniac. Even so, he's grateful that the negotiations with Lancelot have gone so well so far. Right now, it's only a verbal promise, but he believes Lancelot is an honest man who will keep his word. Exhausted, Masaru decides to end the day and rest up to recover his mana. At that moment, the secretary appears and reminds him of the hygiene class, pointing out that everyone is waiting. More knights arrive shortly after, seeking guidance on the new inventions he introduced to the village. After dealing with everyone, Masaru finally gets to rest after the disconcerted, grueling day. He lies down in bed and realizes how tiring it is to teach people who don't even know the basics. He remembers when he worked at a building materials store, where the instructors patiently taught him, until he was certified. Suddenly, he wonders how the people in his homeland are doing. Masaru opens the window and thinks about the person he misses the most. However, she no longer shares the same sky, or the same moon with him. If only he could say what he truly feels, that he gave up on love if it wasn't with her. Victinius appears, feeling guilty as she witnesses his longing. She hears him lament that he wishes he could give up on love and that he wanted to say goodbye. He tries to downplay his feelings, comparing his experience to a poem about love he read years ago. It's tragic, but he's learning to accept it. Curious, Victinius asks what the woman was like. Masaru describes her as petite and adorably kind. He confesses it was love at first sight for him. When they met, she was working extremely hard, and he fell in love with her determination. A few months later, he told her he liked her. He wasn't good at expressing his feelings, so his words came out awkwardly. It was then that he discovered she was already with someone else, and had been for years. After that, he left home. Despite everything, he remained in love with her, but he still managed to congratulate her on her wedding day. What makes everything strange is that he later met a girl in the Rabbit folk village with the same name, May, and seeing her hit him hard, bringing back memories of the past. Sensing Victinius's guilt, Masaru reassures her. He says it's okay, that he has a new goal in life now, and focusing on that is revitalizing, rather than being trapped in the past. If he has to say anything, it's that he's grateful to Victinius for giving him a new purpose. Snapping back to her usual attitude, Victinius agrees. After all, she is a goddess, and he was brought to this world, specifically to fulfill his role. Masaru glares at her, annoyed by the arrogant tone, but then he notices the warm smile on her face. He used to think she was just a useless goddess, but now he's surprised to find himself thinking she's actually a pretty cool goddess. Hearing the compliment, she smiles again. The scene leaves Masaru happy and gives him renewed energy to get back to work. He waves goodbye to her as he resumes his tasks. Victinius gazes at the moon with a satisfied look on her face. 3 days pass, and Masaru keeps himself busy teaching, sharing, and spreading what he knows. Meanwhile, he dedicates his free time to preparing for battle. Finally, the day of the duel with Lancelot arrives. Masaru heads to the arena and is shocked to see so many people flooding in. He goes to the waiting room where Lancelot is to ask about it. Lancelot is impressed that his opponent actually showed up. Masaru says he never expected to be the main event in the middle of a festival. He explains his men just want to see some swordplay, before his eyes lock onto the freshly forged blade Masaru is holding, and he asks, "You got one of those for me, too?" Masaru deadpans that no one gets a custom-made weapon just for a friendly duel. Lancelot then unsheathes a colossal black sword, declaring he's going to savor this fight to the absolute fullest. Masaru's eyes narrow. It's forged from a stronger ore, but the craftsmanship is eerily similar to the last blade he saw. Lancelot gestures, asking about Masaru's weapon. Masaru draws his new sword. A smirk plays on Lancelot's lips as he says that when he wins, that beautiful blade will be the talk of the town. Masaru grins right back, promising to try and go easy on him. Lancelot's tone drops. The last person who dared speak to me that way learned a very painful lesson. A chill crawls up Masaru's spine. He has to ask, "Have you ever actually lost a fight?" The knight's smile is unnerving. Not anymore. Masaru thinks to himself that all his meticulous planning might have been for nothing. But Lancelot recalls the rumors. Masaru single-handedly annihilated an entire goblin horde, a feat very few could ever accomplish. He adds that he expects his opponent to come at him with everything he's got. Masaru's smile is all the confirmation he needs. They walk side by side out of the chamber and emerge into the massive arena. They're hit by a wall of sound, deafening applause, and roars from a colossal crowd. Masaru glances around, visibly overwhelmed. He spots the messenger girl seated in a lavish viewing box. She offers him a slight smile as the two warriors take their positions. An announcer bellows that the battle may now commence. The referee explains the terms. One single round, winner takes all. The entire crowd leans forward, buzzing with anticipation. Victory would be declared only when one fighter either surrenders or is no longer able to continue the fight. Finally, they're instructed to fight with honor, and with that, the clash begins. The messenger asks a nearby attendant for his thoughts on the match so far. He calls her ma'am, a title that clearly annoys her. She remarks that Masaru doesn't even have the look of a warrior. They speculate he must have a trick up his sleeve, and that the entire fight will hinge on it. In the arena, steel rings against steel. Lancelot admits he's surprised a mere human can match his raw power. Masaru retorts, "So does that mean we can agree? I've won?" Lancelot just laughs and unleashes a completely different kind of strike. It forces Masaru to stumble back. Lancelot uses a swift kick to shatter the blacksmith's balance, sending him sprawling. As Lancelot lunges forward, Masaru sees the knight's blade descending and, with pure terror on his face, dodges away at the last possible second. "Are you actually trying to kill me?" he shouts. Lancelot analyzes his form, deducing he must have some formal combat training. He presses the attack, sneering that the kid's techniques are unrefined. Masaru just barely blocks a vicious swing with the hilt of his sword. Lancelot actually compliments the move, but keeps up the relentless assault, while Masaru desperately scrambles to parry every single blow. He realizes that a real battle is a completely different beast. He remembers Victinius boasting that he could challenge an entire kingdom, but the way he's fighting now, that seems like an impossible fantasy. Still, he's already confirmed everything he needed for his plan. He decides it's time to make his real move. All the experience he clawed for on the battlefield, everything he ever learned, and all the lessons from the master artisans are about to be put on full display. He raises a hand and activates his skill, Item Box. His personal storage dimension. Lancelot braces for an attack, but is instead met with a shower of massive wooden logs crashing into the arena. The knight is completely stunned. There was nothing in the reports about Masaru possessing a rare skill. He has no clue what the blacksmith is scheming. Is he planning to use the logs as a foothold? Lancelot finds himself trapped in the center of the debris. Masaru spots his opening. He unleashes a multiple skill activation, conjuring carpentry and architecture. The chunks of wood instantly twist and reform, becoming several siege machines with battering rams aimed directly at Lancelot. Lancelot is shell-shocked, finding himself completely encircled by weapons of war. Masaru feels a surge of satisfaction. This is the advantage of creation skills. He can construct anything he can imagine. Though, with his current mana reserves, he's still stuck, creating pretty basic tools. He's betting it all on a simultaneous attack. Lancelot finally understands the hidden strategy. He swings his great sword in powerful, sweeping arcs. He shatters the machines. The messenger watches on with fascination. Lancelot, however, looks utterly disappointed, if that's all he's got. He realizes Masaru is just trying to create distance to build more junk, so he decides to just end it, with one single, decisive charge. The messenger grows worried and leaps to her feet. Lancelot blitzes forward to finish the fight, but he skids to a halt, stunned to see Masaru now wielding a gigantic ballista. He realizes this was the blacksmith's real plan all along. From the very beginning, he must have built it beforehand, and now Lancelot is caught in the kill zone. The bolt is fired. The knight knows he can't possibly dodge it. He plants his feet, raises his sword, and meets the projectile head-on. The impact is colossal. Lancelot struggles against the immense force with everything he has. He finally manages to wrench the bolt aside with his sword, earning a roar of approval from the audience. But the exertion leaves him completely exhausted, and he looks up just in time to see Masaru charging forward, seizing the golden opportunity. Lancelot is completely gassed, his arm feeling like lead. Even so, a flicker of confidence remains. He believes he can still win this. If he can just lock up Masaru's weapon and pin him down. He heaves his sword up, just high enough to parry the incoming strike. But to his utter shock, his massive greatsword doesn't just block the attack, it shatters on impact, exploding into 1,000 pieces. The proud knight collapses to the ground, completely defenseless. As Masaru stands tall, the victor, a horrifying realization dawns on Lancelot. This was Masaru's strategy from the very beginning. He was banking on his own blade being able to slice right through the greatsword. With a smirk, he admits he only got the confidence for that move after spotting a tiny chip in Lancelot's weapon. In truth, he'd already run a test on the sword Lancelot had loaned him, but since it was crafted from a different material than the one used in the duel, it was still a massive gamble. That's why he needed to stall for time, to make absolutely sure Lancelot was forced to block the hit. The battering rams and the giant ballista, it was all a setup for that one moment. Masaru confesses he never imagined Lancelot would actually slice the bolt in half, instead of just dodging it. But that one incredible move locked him in place just long enough for Masaru to wind up the final, devastating blow. Lancelot is absolutely floored that the blacksmith challenged him not with superior sword skills, but with the sheer artistry of his craft. Masaru says it's all he knows how to do as he activates his storage ability. A brand new sword materializes in his hand, and he explains he couldn't possibly deliver it before their duel. He holds it out, offering it to Lancelot, calling it a symbol of his gratitude. For a moment, Lancelot is utterly speechless. Masaru also admits that, as things stand now, he wouldn't stand a chance against the knight. Lancelot gives the new sword a few test swings, a genuine look of joy and appreciation spreading across his face. He tells Masaru that he lives for the fight. Every single battle is a thrill, no matter the weapon, and every duel teaches him something new. It reminds him of the very reason he's alive. As a result, other people with that same fiery spirit started flocking to him, which only pushed him to swing his sword harder and faster. Before he knew it, he looked back and realized that no one could even come close to matching him. It's strange, he adds, because the stronger he became, the less he actually got to fight. He was suddenly running an entire organization, trapped in the grind of invasion campaigns. That's why today felt so incredibly refreshing. It's been a long, long time since he's had this much fun. He then tells Masaru to never claim he can't win just because he handed over a new sword. Winning a fight means growth, and that means Lancelot himself will also grow from this. Lancelot declares that next time, Masaru will have to defeat the Lancelot of the future, who will be on a whole other level, adding that he's seriously looking forward to their rematch. Masaru admits he'd rather not fight again, but acknowledges that their blades will inevitably cross once more. Lancelot then turns to the crowd and proclaims Masaru the winner. He adds that they will honor their promise, announcing that as of this day, the enslaved beastmen are free. Later, that night, inside a tavern in the Knight's district, the patrons are feasting. A guy named Elam is remarking that he never dreamed a production skill could pop off so hard in a real battle. He asks Cook if he'd ever considered training with a carpenter. Elam laughs, saying Masaru is stacked with skills, and continues to praise him, but Elam freezes up when he realizes Lancelot is standing right behind them, listening to every word. They whip around in shock when they see the knight, their bodies going rigid with fear. But Lancelot just tells them to chill out, explaining he's just there to talk. He asks if they were the ones who brought Masaru into the city, pointing out that the Masaru he fought and the Masaru described in official reports seem like two completely different people. He asks them to spill everything they know about the blacksmith. Some time passes, and Lancelot has been brought completely up to speed. The knight realizes that the young blacksmith is far, far beyond anything he could have anticipated. Cook comments that if those stats belonged to someone between level 60 and 70, he'd believe it. But Masaru is only level 16, and his stats are already rivaling Cook's, who's sitting at level 62. Lancelot finally understands why they kept that information on the down low. Before, someone suggests recruiting a talent like that for the knights, but Lancelot replies that in Masaru's case, it would be Far more interesting to just let him run wild. He adds that even though they promised a rematch, it would be a shame to just cut ties. Lancelot begins to give an order, but before he can finish, the messenger girl arrives. She says that he just wants an excuse to keep tabs on Masaru. Lancelot is stunned and asks her what she's doing there. She fires back that she got roped into messenger work, remarking on how many talented people there are out there, with no real purpose. And that's when we find out Lancelot is her uncle. A few days later, Masaru is standing at the main entrance of the council hall, asking if he can finally head home now that the beastmen have been freed. Lancelot strolls out and tells him everything's all good. The reforms are already showing results, and as soon as the beastmen are all gathered, a message will be sent to their village. Masaru's like, all right, I get it, but then he has to ask why the knight is covered in bruises and who he ended up fighting. Lancelot shoots back that he couldn't even fight back. Someone cheap-shotted him from behind, and he reveals that she was the one who threw the first punch. Masaru is completely floored to see it's the messenger girl. Lancelot just explains that this is his niece, Dell, who's every bit as hot-headed as he is. Dell chimes in that she's stoked to meet him and that she'll do whatever it takes to be useful, since she'll be his partner for the day. Masaru's head is spinning. This is the first he's hearing about her coming with him. Lancelot explains that Dell is just dying to see more of the world, and he's low-key stressing because it's a dangerous road for a woman traveling solo. This gets Masaru thinking. When the beastmen make their way back, they'll need more people to build up the village, but a remote outpost is no place for someone used to the city. Dell insists she'll be perfectly fine and gets right up in his personal space, saying this all sounds like a blast. A laugh escapes Masaru. It dawns on him that the blood of Lancelot truly flows through her veins. He finally gives in, agreeing that as long as she pulls her weight, there's no problem. But he warns her uncle to brace himself, because it could be years before she returns. Lancelot is totally blindsided by this. He demands to know what Masaru is talking about. Masaru lays it all out. They're going to develop the settlement into an actual city, a true, safe haven for the beastmen. Lancelot hesitates, but Dell's eyes are burning with resolve. She pleads with him not to stand in her way. The weary knight finally caves and asks Masaru to protect her, which makes Dell grumble about him being so overprotective. Lancelot's tough expression softens for a moment as he says his farewell. Masaru vows that once everything settles down, or if things get too intense, he'll come back. Waving goodbye to the knights as he and Dell depart, Masaru reflects on how his journey spiraled into something much longer than he ever anticipated. Even so, he successfully crushed all the problems and locked down a ton of resources. He and Dell trek through various landscapes, camping out under the stars and just taking in the views, until they finally make it to their destination. Masaru feels a rush of satisfaction, knowing he now has a seriously powerful ally watching his back. He greets the rabbit tribe and spends some time getting everyone up to speed on what went down, knowing they also have to map out their next move. He's just thrilled to have made it back and wants to enjoy the moment of reunion. Vatina watches the entire scene unfold while sipping tea, a smug grin spreading across her face as a system message appears. The message announces that the world development bonus has been granted. Later, Masaru talks with the chief about the possibility of letting go of their deep-seated grudge against humans in the future. The chief fears that now, with Masaru's tech-boosting human advancement, they could become an even greater threat. Masaru reassures him, saying there's no reason to be concerned. He already had a chat with his commander. He suggests they pour all their energy into expanding the settlement now that so many beastmen are free. He then gets to his feet to declare his vision. He's going to build a city for beastmen. The next morning, May and Adele wake Masaru up in his tent. They both complain that he isn't even ready yet, especially since he was the one who said he'd be making a massive announcement. They head out first, but tell him not to be late. Masaru is still totally out of it, and the first thing he does is check his status screen to review the skills he can leverage for building the city. He's shocked to see a brand new message. Opening it, he discovers it's from Era, Victinius' sister. He's been rewarded with more abilities for his contributions to the world, and she hopes he can step up his game even more for the sake of future generations. With the discovery of Era, it finally clicks for Masaru that there's a whole pantheon of gods out there. He's actually glad to know there's a goddess who seems more responsible than Victinia's, a comment that she is definitely not happy to hear. He concludes that if he keeps pulling off incredible feats, he'll receive even more insane skill upgrades, so he takes a moment to check out all the new skills, right up until Adele and May barge back in to complain that he still hasn't come out. Later, Masaru arrives at the gathering and tells the Beastmen tribe that he wants to discuss the future of their home. He explains that with other Beastmen now freed from humans, their population is set to triple, and major upgrades will be necessary. Food production, protective walls, and other structures will all need an overhaul. He announces his plan to construct a city, right nearby. The rabbit tribe asks if they can really build a city all by themselves and what kind of city he's picturing. Masaru vows that he will make sure they succeed, and that he wants a city where beastmen can live, in safety, happiness, and freedom. His declaration brings a smile to everyone's face, and the tribe immediately agrees to back his plan. Masaru realizes they trust him without a single question, and feels a pang of guilt. Adopting a serious tone, he shares that he can no longer hide who he is if they're going to trust him like that. He reveals that he came from another world, brought to this one, by a god. The crowd falls completely silent, making Masaru think his story is just too much to believe. But then, a flood of questions erupts as people start asking what kind of world he came from and what kind of god it was. Adelina finally nods, admitting the wild story actually tracks, given how Masaru's culture and knowledge seem from a whole different planet. Masaru is floored. How can you guys just believe me so fast? They shoot back that it's a no-brainer when gods are part of the daily vibe. It clicks for Masaru. In a world where deities are real, a story like his isn't just possible, it's practically Tuesday. The chief steps forward, declaring their trust in him will never break. Masaru stood up and shielded them all, and seeing their genuine gratitude warms his heart. The mood shifts, though. Suddenly, everyone's crowding him, getting a little pushy as they demand more deets about his world. Masaru raises his hands to calm the hype train, promising to spill all the tea about his homeworld over dinner. With that settled, he pivots their focus back to the massive task ahead, laying out the plan to start clearing fields and expanding their living quarters. He starts assigning jobs to everyone. Adelina and May watch him, their eyes practically sparkling with anticipation, waiting for their own epic mission. But when he hesitates on their names, their faces drop into matching expressions of pure annoyance. Finally, he tasks them with producing hydrated lime. He calls it their secret weapon for construction, a crucial job he can't entrust to anyone else. It's a huge responsibility, one that finally satisfies even Adelina's massive pride. Masaru leads them over to the kiln and the prep tools. He instructs them to load seashells inside, stack firewood underneath, and then light it up. He points to a bellows box next to the kiln, explaining that pumping it will shoot air through a pipe, injecting a blast of oxygen into the forge. This, he says, will crank the heat up to 1,000 degrees. Seeing their blank stares, he clarifies, boiling water with bubbles? That's about 100 degrees. And when the clay inside glows fiery red, that's 1,000. He urges them to wield this incredible power over heat with caution and smarts. Remember, he warns, technology can be a tool for happiness or a weapon for suffering. Always think before you act. He asks them to be super careful with the techniques they learn from him, whether they nail it on the first try or not. Mai nervously asks if it's okay to mess up, and Masaru just smiles, patting both their heads reassuringly. He tells them that failure is a core part of the grind, and that learning how to use tech the right way is just as important as learning it at all. Adelina and May's faces light up, absolutely glowing with the trust he's placing in them. Masaru announces it's go time, tells them to start heating the forge, and walks them through the first few steps before heading out to clear the land for their new city. On site, he starts laying down perfectly flat blocks on the ground, and by the end, he's completely wiped, drenched in sweat. He calculates it'll take a solid 6 hours just to recharge his mana. At this brutal pace, he realizes leveling the entire city grounds is going to take days. The thought of that soul-crushing labor on repeat sends a shiver down his spine, and his mind desperately scrambles for a smarter way. His eyes drift over to the nearby cliff, and a memory flashes the time he spent with May and the rabbit folks down below. And just like that, an idea sparks. A slow grin spreads across his face as he sprints towards the cliff's edge, spotting the slimes milling about at the bottom. Masaru hauls a single slime back to the village, announcing his plan to keep it, which immediately puts everyone on edge. The chief confronts him, his voice laced with concern, reminding him that slimes are monsters, plain and simple. Masaru explains his master plan, using the slime to process sewage and food scraps, while also studying its basic nature. He brings up old documents he'd seen, ones that claimed some monsters can coexist with humans, and he argues they could be used as a resource, just like wood or stone. He strategically leaves out his wild idea to build slime-powered toilets. The chief is visibly stunned, his mind blown by the concept of weaponizing monsters as a resource. Masaru lays out his research plan. He wants to test how much the slime can consume and figure out safe ways to handle it. He then drops another bombshell, his plan to start farming giant lizards to solve their food crisis for good. After mulling it over, the chief gives him the green light to keep the slime in the village, and Masaru is absolutely stoked. Over the next few days, Masaru studies the slime, discovering it physically can't climb anything higher than its own body. He runs experiments, feeding it grass and wood, and watches as the slime slowly absorbs and dissolves the materials. After several days on this bland diet, he notices that while it keeps eating, it seems totally over the taste of grass and wood. From these results, he figures the slime will have zero problems chowing down on their leftover food scraps. Then one day, someone from the rabbit village frantically tells Masaru the slime isn't moving. A surge of panic hits him. Masaru sprints over to his creature and scoops it up, finding it shrunken and totally rigid. He realizes it's dangerously dehydrated. After rushing it to a lake and setting it in the water, the little creature springs back to life. Later, the rabbit tribe brings him even more slimes to kickstart a massive breeding and research project. After piecing together all his observations, Masaru forms a groundbreaking hypothesis. Slimes are the world's natural self-cleaning system, that their pet slimes just break down impurities in dirty water. The sheer joy of this discovery hits Masaru like a ton of bricks. One day, Mai asks if she can get a pet slime of her own. Masaru hesitates, trying to get her to understand that even though they're useful, slimes are still potentially dangerous monsters. He reluctantly tells her she can't have one. Later, Masaru hits up the chief, letting him know he needs to bounce from the village again. He's crunched the numbers and realized they're about to run low on lumber and other resources. The chief is totally on board and even offers to send backup if he needs it. Masaru tells the chief he's already tasked the gathering team with collecting tree saplings and seeds because it's time to start planting. He explains that while trees take forever to grow, they can be chopped down in a heartbeat, so they have to prep for the future by giving back to the forests and mountains to keep the environment thriving. Since they're the ones using all the wood, the chief and the others are seriously impressed that he's always thinking several moves ahead of everyone else. Masaru tells them to focus on fruit trees and grow them waist-high inside the village before transplanting them onto the mountains. The chief asks when he's leaving, and Masaru just says he'll head out as soon as he's ready, making it crystal clear he's going solo, even though he knows damn well Adelina is planning to tag along. The next morning, Mai and Adelina catch Masaru at the village exit, ready to join his trip. Mai makes her case, arguing that her knowledge of herbs and plants is essential, while Adelina flat out refuses to be left behind when she could be expanding her horizons with him. They team up, declaring they're going, whether he likes it or not. Masaru caves, but only on the condition that they follow his orders to the letter. As they trek through the forest, Masaru lays out the mission. It's not just about gathering lumber, but also stone and other materials, especially any seeds or saplings they can either eat or use for medicine. He hammers home his desire to cultivate them, insisting they have to live in harmony with nature, no matter what. When the girls ask why he's so passionate about it, he reveals that in his old world, humanity developed so much that tons of living things went extinct. It taught him a hard lesson. It's never a good thing when humans get too powerful. Now, in his second chance at life, he wants to live. Like every single thing in this world is precious. The girls call him cheesy, but you can see the joy in their eyes as he holds on to that ideal, and they get hyped about all the new things they'll discover on this journey. A little later, Adelina has stacked up a mountain of enormous logs, only to realize Masaru has completely vanished from sight. Mai points out that Masaru went off somewhere else, making Adelina wonder just how far he's willing to go for some firewood. Suddenly, Mai's rabbit ears pick up the sound of a sword slicing through the air in the distance. The two of them follow the noise, only to find Masaru decapitating a colossal monster. Its severed head goes flying right towards Adelina. She throws her hands over her own head, totally frozen with disgust. Later on, covered in bruises from Adelina's retaliatory beatdown, Masaru apologizes, explaining that the giant monster ambushed him. Mai, completely amazed, identifies the creature as a groundworm. Masaru mentions that similar creatures exist back in his world, ones that enrich the soil and help plants thrive. But seeing no nearby tunnels, Masaru is left totally confused. Adelina jumps in, explaining that this groundworm uses earth magic to move underground without leaving a single hole. Intrigued by the whole magic worm concept, Mai adds that she's heard they can be used to craft high-quality bows from their tough, elastic tendons, which make perfect bowstrings and armor material. Masaru wonders if this means people can just go into the forest and hunt groundworms, but Adelina shuts that idea down, explaining that almost no one can actually defeat one. Both girls just stare at Masaru like he's some kind of alien. Meanwhile, Mai chimes in, cheerfully, saying it's no surprise her big brother took down a giant monster. Masaru starts brainstorming how to use the groundworm's materials and whether hunting them could become a regular thing. This prompts Mai to share that the rabbit people hunt monsters like giant lizards and eat birds called halos. Mai offers to use her ears to listen for one, but instead, she hears the roar of a ferocious beast and is instantly paralyzed by terror. She just starts screaming and crying. They ask her what's wrong, but she can't stop sobbing. Masaru is thrown back to how terrified she was when they first met, realizing she's even more scared now. Mai clings to him, begging him not to go after the monster. Through her tears, she warns him that he'll die if he tries to fight it. Masaru soothes her, promising he's not going to pick a fight, but that he still needs to at least see the creature to know what they're up against. Mai makes him swear he'll come right back, and after he agrees, she points toward the sound. Masaru bolts in that direction and ducks behind a tree to stay hidden from the monster's view. And there, he sees it, a four-armed bear, chowing down on a giant, purple horse. It's a sight that shakes even the all-powerful Masaru to his core. He scrambles for cover, watching in raw fear as the bear continues to savage its prey. The beast finally lumbers away, and a wave of relief washes over him. He thinks to himself, he's never witnessed a monster of that caliber before. Examining the horse's carcass, he notes it was freakishly huge. Sporting 6 legs, he identifies it as an assault-type savanna horse, a mutant species, born from a regular horse that absorbed an insane amount of magical power, which gets him wondering where that kind of energy source even came from. His mind shifts to what he can learn about the bear, but a single drop of water lands on his nose. A second later, the sky opens up, and it starts pouring. He realizes he and the girls need to bolt back to the village and warn the chief about this nightmare bear. They make a mad dash back. The chief informs Masaru they've encountered the demon bear, explaining that just like the giant horse, it's a mutation. Fueled by mana, this thing shows up every few years, and its raw power and behavior are basically a natural disaster. The chief breathes a sigh of relief, saying they got lucky. The bear probably sensed the approaching storm and bailed. Adelina is terrified it'll come back, but the chief quickly reassures her. He explains that it's officially the rainy season, a time when the demon bear becomes way less active as the lowlands flood. The fields completely transform into one massive lake. An idea sparks in Masaru's mind, and he asks if the flooded environment means aquatic creatures will migrate into the area. The chief confirms that water dwellers become way more active. With that, Masaru shoots up to leave. This immediately makes the chief think he's planning to hunt down and fight the bear. But Masaru shouts that he is so done with their repetitive meals and wants to gather some seafood while he has the chance. Rushing outside, he sees the forest fields are now dotted with pools of water and gets totally hyped. As he's walking, he almost trips, peering into a puddle and getting a weird feeling like something is trying to pull him in. Without warning, a massive green crab erupts from the water, snapping its pincer at Masaru, but he catches it with zero effort. He hoists the creature up, pulls some rope from his spatial storage, and ties the crab up so it can't move. Firing up his appraisal skill, he identifies the monster as a blue crab that glows a brilliant emerald green when it gets wet. Masaru feels like he hit the jackpot, being in a place where he can find aquatic creatures this easily. He gets giddy thinking about how many more he can find and immediately gets to work, capturing everything from green moss to river crabs. His haul even includes poison dart frogs and a stealth python. After gathering everything he can carry, he practically drools. Just as he's imagining the village finally having something new to eat, Victinius pops up right behind him, making him jump out of his skin. Masaru asks what she's even doing out in the pouring rain, and she reveals her divine barrier keeps her from getting wet. She explains she just got curious about why he was out hunting for water critters. It suddenly clicks for Masaru. The goddess has never had seafood before. Puffing his chest out, he declares these are ingredients he just couldn't pass up. Intrigued, Victinius asks if they're actually any good. Seeing her interest piqued, Masaru grabs her hand to lead her somewhere they can cook up a snack. He throws together a temporary shelter to shield them from the downpour, then pulls the blue crab from his storage and suggests they try it. Victinius is super skeptical about eating that thing, so Masaru tells her to have a seat while he preps their meal. As the goddess watches him set up the cooking gear, his hair dripping wet from the rain, she grabs a towel, gently places it on his head, and starts drying his hair, telling him not to move so she can finish. Masaru remarks that he never knew she could be this nice, which earns him a light smack with the towel from Victinius. Blushing, she tells him to just get near the fire and warm up. She adds that he should consider this a reward for all his hard work around the village. They fall into a comfortable silence. Both of them are blushing, stealing little glances at each other. Masaru finally sets a plate of cooked crab on the table. Victinius has to admit it looks way better than she expected. Masaru, still flustered from the whole towel thing, just manages a shy, yeah. Victinius struggles to crack the shell on a leg, finding it way too tough. So, Masaru shows her the trick. You just pull the limb horizontally, and the meat slides right out. After she gives it a try herself, Victinius takes a bite, and her entire face lights up from the incredible flavor. She praises the perfect balance between the savory and sweet taste. They share another awkward look before digging back in. After she's had her fill, Victinius asks when she can bring a crab to her sister. Masaru remembers she's talking about the other goddess, the one who sent him a message earlier. He offers her the rest of the crab but warns her it won't taste as good cold. Victinius is hyping him up again, saying she could literally watch him cook, craft tools, and forge swords all day and never get bored. Masaru points out that she's the one who gave him these powers, but Victinius shuts that down, explaining she's floored by the knowledge and fresh ideas that make his skills next level. He tells her he used to work at a massive home and garden center, the kind of sprawling rural superstore that was open from dawn till late at night, especially during planting season when they'd open crazy early for all the farmers. He describes having to learn everything about flowers, trees, and vegetable seedlings, how to handle them, how to prep them, and then having to explain it all to customers. He groans, remembering the absolute nightmare of scrambling to do whatever the manager demanded, especially when they were short-staffed. Seeing the pain on his face, Victinius gets it. His old life was rough. But, she says, it's awesome that all that grinding is paying off big time now. Masaru sighs, admitting he's dreading the showdown with the demon bear, which is holding up construction of the Beastman's city. He even confesses that foraging for ingredients was partly just an excuse to run from his problems. Saddened, Victinius stands up, her eyes firm. I will never let you run, she declares, her voice shaking with emotion. You've done so much for this world. I hate seeing you like this, doubting yourself. He cracks a smile. Oh yeah? What are you gonna do if I try to dip? She puffs out her chest, trying to look serious, and says she'd never forgive him. Masaru just laughs at her attempt to be intimidating, which leaves the goddess totally flustered. He gets serious then, saying a man can't be a coward when a goddess has his back. Just sit back and watch, he says, his confidence restored. I'll handle this demon bear. Masaru heads back to the village, where the rabbit folk report that the main wall at the entrance is nearly complete. He inspects their work and is seriously impressed with its stability. The place is starting to look like a legit fortress. He gives them a shout-out, telling everyone to keep up the amazing work. As he watches the preparations to fend off the demon bear, Masaru feels like they're making solid progress. Still, he wishes he had more time to grind his levels. Last night, while checking his skill tree, he was kinda bummed to see that most of his new abilities were non-combat. He tells Mai they desperately need more firepower to take on the demon bear. She asks if he means fire magic, recalling that the foxfolk are known for their magic skills, and wondering if any of the returning villagers might be a mage. Masaru thinks about asking Lancelot to find a fox tribe member who could teach them, but Adelina cuts in, dropping a bombshell. Beastfolk with a talent for magic are incredibly rare. It hits Masaru, then he hasn't seen a single person cast a spell since he got Isekai'd. He asks Adelina how many people in this entire city can actually use magic. She can only think of maybe one or two. He's instantly annoyed, remembering how Victinius pitched this place as some epic world of swords and sorcery. Suddenly, a notification sound chimes, and Masaru checks his status screen, finding a new message. Seeing a holographic status screen pop up out of thin air, Adelina and Mai are absolutely speechless. Masaru explains it was a gift from the goddess, admitting with a grin that he thinks it's pretty sick too. He reads her message aloud, which explains that this world's magic and science are still in their infancy. While some monsters can use magic instinctively, humans, beastmen, demons, and dwarves haven't cracked the code yet. She ends by saying she's counting on Masaru to help kickstart the development of magic in this world. Intrigued by the idea that he's supposed to spread magic, Adelina asks if he can even use it himself. He answers casually, "Oh yeah, but only healing magic." That one sentence leaves both girls staring at him, their jaws on the floor. Masaru starts to wonder how the goddess expects him to teach magic when he barely understands the mechanics himself. And then, it clicks. The perfect idea hits him. He needs to build a place for learning. That's it, he declares. I need to open a school. Masaru explains to a confused Mai and Adelina that a school in his world is a place where people go to gain knowledge. Adelina's mind is blown, imagining a world overflowing with knowledge and technology far beyond their own. As a flex, Masaru pulls a smartphone from his spatial storage and proudly presents it as an example of his world's tech. The girls just stare at the little black box, completely failing to see what's so impressive. Then Masaru powers it on, and he's shocked to see it still works. Does this mean time is frozen inside my spatial storage? He wonders aloud. He tells the girls that this device lets you talk to people who are miles and miles away. He goes on, explaining that it can take pictures, record videos, and play tens of thousands of songs, leaving the girls even more stunned. He gives them a full demo, snapping a picture of them together, blasting some music, firing up a video game, and using the calculator to crunch numbers. By the time he looks up, night has completely fallen. He realizes he just goofed off on his phone all day. The anxiety creeps back in. How is he supposed to teach magic when he doesn't even know the details himself? And he's still wondering why the goddess Era is making him do this. But thinking about goddesses gives him a devious little idea. He just shouts into the void. So, how does magic work anyway? And just as he planned, a portal rips open, and Victinius pops out to explain. The goddess immediately realizes she was tricked into being summoned. Victinius clarifies that healing magic is a completely different beast from the others. She points out that he only ever used real magic once, when he delivered that final blow against Lancelot during their duel. She explains how he unconsciously wrapped his sword in magic, amplifying its power. Masaru brings up the time he thought he used magic on himself and the bandits, but Victinius shuts that down, confirming it was just a skill activation. She elaborates that gods grant skills, and they manifest based on how the user imagines them. She says Masaru's skills are all based on his modern knowledge of construction and gaming. True healing magic, she says, requires actual medical knowledge, and recovery takes time. It all clicks for Masaru, that's why all his skills are tied to what he already knows. He then asks how he can consciously use magic like he did in the duel. Victinius reminds him that he can feel magic coursing through his body when he uses a skill, and that he's even run out of mana before. She advises him to think of mana as a power source, letting it flow while picturing the phenomenon he wants to create, then amplifying and manifesting it. After that breakdown, Masaru feels way more confident he can pull it off. He asks if it's really okay for her to be explaining so much, since it could be seen as major interference. Victinius says it's fine, but her worried expression totally gives away that she's scared of getting chewed out by Estia. Masaru smirks, telling her she just can't help but worry about him. The goddess gives him a light smack for his cockiness. She tells him not to push his luck. With a blush creeping onto her face, she admits she's only helping out because of Ira. Masaru just grins and compliments her on being such a good big sister. After his chat with Victinius, Masaru adds magic practice to his daily grind. Meanwhile, life in the village is getting back to normal. Now that the anti-air defenses are finished, Masaru feels like they wasted a ton of time, especially since the demon bear never even showed up. The village elder points out that the bear not appearing is the best possible outcome, but Masaru is still on edge, arguing that it just means the bear could show up next year instead. Mike chimes in that the most important thing is that the village is safe. The chief couldn't agree more, and he adds that at least they got some sick new arrows out of the whole experience. Masaru remembers, those are the ones he crafted, the ones he added barbs to. He grins proudly, thinking about how they're a nightmare to remove and are coated in a nasty poison. The chief mentions the hunting squad is obsessed with the arrows and points them out, training at the shooting range. Masaru remembers the bows are made from the monster tree and asks how they're holding up. The bows strung with wireworm tendons. The squad suddenly goes dead silent, not knowing what to say. They explain that the strings are insanely strong, but not even the burliest villagers can draw them properly, so the bows just end up collecting dust. One of the hunters asks Masaru to show them how it's done. Masaru grabs a bow. He takes aim and lets an arrow fly with blinding speed. It moves so fast it shatters the target and drills straight through the tree behind it. Masaru instantly realizes he accidentally coated the arrow with reinforcement magic. He tries to play it cool, telling himself the arrow has to stop eventually, but then, they hear the shriek of a wild beast. The watchtower sounds the alarm. A spotter announces movement near the northern cliff. They declare the demon bear has appeared. Everyone immediately scrambles to prepare for evacuation. Masaru tries to downplay his shot, saying it was just an accident. The chief struggles to keep his composure. He reminds everyone they've prepared for this moment. He tells Masaru they can handle this. Masaru gives a firm nod. He asks the chief to coordinate the evacuation, while he gets the fighters into position. He orders the hunting squad to follow him to confront the demon bear. Adelina and Mai look worried for Masaru, but he just pats their heads and tells them the village is in their hands now. With that, Masaru leads the hunting squad away, sprinting straight towards the danger. Adelina reassures Mai that Masaru will be fine, and the rabbit girl replies that she has faith in her big brother. The two of them stand strong, shouting for Masaru to give it his all. Meanwhile, Masaru is hiding behind some bushes, watching the demon bear tear through the trees. His stomach drops when he sees the bear is now injured in its left eye and is absolutely livid. He signals to the hunting squad positioned on the cliff above to get ready. Masaru's plan is to lure the demon bear directly beneath the cliff, giving the hunters a perfect shot from above. He thinks to himself that if he screws up and fails to bait the bear into the kill zone, losing this fight means his own death and the annihilation of their village. Masaru throws up a hand, giving the signal for his archers to take aim and fire. They unleash a storm of arrows, pinning the bear down. With the beast momentarily stunned, Masaru lunges in for a strike, but the beast just shrugs off the attack like it's nothing. It locks its gaze dead on Masaru. Realizing the danger, Masaru bolts, trying to draw the massive creature's attention solely to him. The monster closes the distance in an instant. Masaru desperately parries a lightning-fast flurry of attacks with his sword, but he's being completely overwhelmed. Just as the claws are about to rip into him, the bear suddenly convulses in agony and halts its assault. Masaru gets it. The poison coating the arrowheads is finally kicking in. A wave of relief washes over him. This is working way better than he could have hoped. Seizing the opportunity, the archers let fly another barrage, and while the beast is reeling, Masaru books it as fast as his legs can carry him. The bear tanks the relentless downpour of arrows until, at last, its massive body crashes to the ground. The hunting party erupts in cheers, celebrating their hard-won victory. Masaru cautiously approaches the fallen beast, still not quite believing they actually pulled it off. He immediately pulls up his status window. He checks his EXP, and a grin spreads across his face. He's shot up several levels. He thinks to himself that now, finally, they can all go home safe. But as Masaru inspects the bear's face, a chill runs down his spine. The fur markings, they're different from the bear he encountered earlier. His eyes widen in horror as he shouts a warning to one of his squad mates, telling him to stay back. The words barely leave his mouth. This isn't the one I saw before, and he's completely oblivious to the second demon bear looming right behind him. His crew screams in terror, but it's too late. The demon bear's massive paw connects, smashing into him. The impact shatters his ribs, sending him flying like a rag doll. He smashes through several trees before finally crashing to a stop. Gasping for breath, he struggles to his feet and glances down at his side. His armor is completely fractured, and the flesh underneath is a grotesque, swollen mess of dark red. The bear stalks closer, each footstep a thunderclap. Masaru tries to force himself up, but the agonizing pain from his wound paralyzes him. It swats trees aside, like they're twigs. One of the archers fires a desperate shot, but the bear just snatches the arrow right out of the air with its paw. Its gaze then shifts, locking onto the rabbit folk village perched on the cliffs above. But this momentary distraction is all Masaru needs. He grabs his bow, lets an arrow fly, and sinks it deep into one of the bear's legs. A defiant smirk spreads across his face. He snarls at the bear, telling it he's not done yet. The rest of the hunting party can only watch in absolute terror, convinced they're about to see him die. But Masaru, slowly, painfully, pushes himself to his feet, channeling healing magic into his shattered ribs. He staggers forward, then breaks into the fastest sprint his broken body can manage. He's convinced there's still a chance, if he can just make it to a specific spot. But the bear is on him before he gets anywhere, mauling him over and over again. Masaru keeps trying to push forward until he finds himself trapped. His strength is completely drained, and he feels his healing magic sputter and die. He can't even focus enough to keep it going. With the bear towering over him, he knows this is the end. His one regret is dying now, just when he'd finally found people worth protecting. He shuts his eyes, bracing for the final blow. And then, his eyes fly open. The bear is being absolutely pummeled by a melee weapon, and wielding it is Adelina. Every single strike explodes with devastating force. She screams at the beast, roaring that she won't hold anything back against the monster, that dared to try and kill the one person who showed her there was a bigger world out there.